Hey guys, Rob and Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with another episode of my ongoing X-Files series. Season 2, episode 7. I guess that puts us about 31 episodes now into this look at it in its entirety, right? This particular episode comes, of course, right after the abduction of Scully. And the last thing we see of Mulder is he's just sort of out there in the woods, just looking up into the heavens, and who knows what is going on through his mind. Will he ever see Scully again? I mean, who knows? Now, as viewers, I think we know the episode that comes right after this one that we're going to talk about today, One Breath. We're going to get the answer to that one. But remember, in real life, she has been dealing with her pregnancy and having her baby. And so this is the way of getting her away from the show for just a little bit. So all is well. All is well. Perhaps. In the middle of this episode, one of the characters that we'll know as the Son, sort of an inverted version of the Trinity, he will tell Mulder, look, anything worth anything has a price. And that was an interesting line. Not much is made of it in the moment, even not really much of a reaction from Mulder, I don't think. But if you're watching this really right after the last episode or the last two, it makes a bit of sense. There is a price to be paid for his ongoing search of the X-Files, and it may cost him something he holds more dear than even he realizes at the moment how dear and precious that is, and that is, of course, Dana Scully. And we're going to see this, man. We're going to see this, right? So 3 is this episode. Drops November 4th, 1994. Directed by David Nutter. Guest stars just a handful of people. I don't think there are any standouts here. So I'll just kind of get into the story. It is an interesting, outside of the mythology, sort of a Monster of the Week episode. But it is kind of an interesting one, where we see Mulder right there at the beginning come into the office. Now, it's been 6 months since the X-Files have been closed. Everything has plastic over it, and, his desk and, filing cabinet. And so he comes in and he flips the calendar up a few months, and we see, if you're keeping count, it's been 6 months. Goes over and opens up the filing cabinet, and there we see for the first time he's holding on to Scully's X-File. Scully is now officially an X-File. In fact, I wrote the number down of it for anyone geeked out on this. 73317 is Dana's X-File that gets put into the filing cabinet. He puts her badge in there, but he holds on to the cross, and we'll see him wearing it in this episode. And it's actually referred to in his loss of Dana is referred to by our main character, Kristen, who will come into. So really, what you have here is basically a situation where Mulder has been waiting for, I believe, 3 months now. He's been waiting. He has been keeping very close tabs on what seems to be ritualistic, cult-like murders. That's how he's viewing it. And I think to date they've killed like 6 people, and he knows they are very close to striking again. And in fact, they will. Out in Los Angeles, I think the last one was in Memphis. And so Mulder will immediately, just as he's putting the stuff into the filing cabinet, the phone rings, and we know we're going to be off investigating. And this is kind of a darker episode. It's not as dark as it could have been, considering the state of Mulder's mind and just how lost he feels right now without Dana, not knowing what lies in front of him, and the choices that actually will lie in front of him. But we have a character that will sort of keep him enough distance away from actually making a bad decision, which is interesting, although he does that job as well for himself. it's kind of an interesting pull and tug or whatever between him and Kristen. They will have a sort of a one-night stand, but what we find out is there is this, they call themselves the Unholy Trinity. And there's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, just like the Unholy Spirit, an inverted version of this, right? And so they believe themselves to be immortal vampires. And in fact, there is a bit of a neat little twist on this particular episode. While Mulder is out there, and he kind of gives us some backdrop as he's talking to one of the police investigators who is trying to shoo him off, he wins his trust real fast. And, you know, and then the background of this whole episode is we have wildfires going on. And that's sort of, I think, kind of an overarching theme in this movie that although he's out there on this one singular case without Dana, there are much bigger things looming over him and her, both, as we will get to in one breath and forward from that. And so once he really begins to get onto this case, he will gain some information that will lead him to a blood bank where this night watchman he believes is one of the killers. He will actually catch him in the middle of the night drinking some blood, real nice. He's able to apprehend him, get him, have him arrested, and of course, you know, decides to, you know, call the ultimate bluff with this guy in order to get the information he needs. He threatens him with sunlight. Now, in the back of Mulder's mind, he doesn't really believe this guy is a vampire, and he doesn't even really believe he believes it himself, although there may be some doubt in the guy's mind. It's not this kind of doubt that Mulder believes it to be, as we'll see with this character later on, but eventually, as the sun is pouring through the upper bars of the window area, it slowly comes closer and closer and closer. And the flip of this episode is they really are a type of vampire. And we'll start seeing this guy start to scream as the sunlight is about to hit his feet. Smoke starts to come up, and before anyone can do anything about it, he'll be dead. And it's interesting. Now, there's a bit of a twist later on at the end of the episode, which will confirm and assure his own doubt of himself that it really is true. The journey he's embarked upon, although it will cost him dearly, does have a reward, and that is apparently immortality. And so it is kind of an interesting where even Mulder is being confronted with his own beliefs, where you would just automatically assume he would be a believer. He's not. And so it's interesting. Eventually he will stumble upon Kristen, who is at this point being followed by the three, in particular the son, who she met in Chicago. We learn about. Mulder will find out via the body of the son. He'll find there'll be a tattoo, and they're able to read it, and it's a club. We find out it's a vampire club. Mulder goes there. That's where he meets Kristen. He will follow her out of there. She has what seems to be a victim lined up for herself. What no one really knows, and what's the weird thing about this episode is Kristen's relationship to this three. It almost seems like she's part of the conspiracy. She's part of this whole thing, her part in this. But really, in fact, she truly is running away from them, and they are on her tail, and the son wants her back. The three want her back. Now, for the moment at least, the son is dead, or assumed to be dead. And so Mulder's relationship with Kristen eventually, after an episode where Mulder will sort of get beat up a little bit by the guy that she has taken as a supposed victim, that whole situation sort of gets flipped on its head. Ensuing investigation, Mulder will actually learn more about Kristen and actually learn about her whereabouts, where she's staying, and he will beat her to the punch and meet up with her as she comes home. He's there waiting, And there ensues an interesting conversation in which we start to learn even more about just Mulder's state of mind, her and her struggle to, does she accept just joining these three and becoming something immortal, which has a price. As the son said, look, anything worth anything has a price. And for him, of course, it's eternal life. For Mulder, it is the acquisition of information leading to absolute concrete knowledge as to the abduction of his sister and where is she, as well as Dana Scully now, and as she is missing. But everything has a price. That morning, or sometime in the middle of the night that morning, when they wake up, the son shows up. We find out that he has returned from the dead. That is like the second flip on things on its head kind of thing, which is pretty cool. And we will have sort of a rush to the climax where the other two show up as well. In order to secure Kristen, they will take Mulder and kill him, but Kristen is not having any of it, and she will become the stumbling block to their plans and purposes, and we get a pretty good finale towards the end. And in fact, a house that explodes, and she'll take her own life in hopes of just bringing this part of her life to an end, and perhaps their lives as well. And in the end, we're left, of course, with Mulder holding on Scully's cross, probably just thinking on what was it that he just went through. It's a dark episode. It's an interesting episode, especially to come right after the last two. And of course, with one breath, the next one we'll jump right back into the mythology with Scully having been found. But this is a interesting. I think Chris Carter said that one of the things they wanted to do was with Mulder's one night stand with Kristen was just show that Mulder isn't near as pure as some or even he or anyone makes him out to be. He is as human as anyone else, and at this moment, his state of mind is such that this is. I don't know if he even knows what he's doing or what he hopes to accomplish, other than putting an end to this three's killing spree. And maybe he just feels, I don't know, at the point where, even death might be welcome in light of just the pain that he's feeling inside. I don't know. It's, anyways, it's an interesting, it is an interesting episode. Look, anything worth anything always has a price. Here at the X-Files, episode number 7 of season 2, simply entitled 3. It's interesting. And on to One Breath and the return of Scully. We will see. But this was a good episode. It's a strange one and where it's placed, but maybe not so strange. As always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream. We might be useful to you.